Hey everyone, before we jump into today's episode, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Open Water. As a chef and restaurant owner, I know how important it is not only to serve amazing food, but also take care of our planet. Open Water makes that easier with their eco-friendly bottled water packaged in 100% recyclable aluminum bottles, helping to reduce the plastic waste. What's even cooler? Open Water is a female-owned company leading the way in sustainability, something we can all get behind. And here's the best part. They're giving our listeners 20% off. Just use promo code INTHEWEEDS at checkout. So whether you're hydrating your team or stocking up for your restaurant, make the switch to Open Water. Delicious water, a healthier planet, and great discount. Cheers to that. All right, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, Saltwerk. You can check them out at saltwerk.com. You ever wonder what a pinch of Iceland would taste like? Well, you have it now in the most sustainable, flaky sea salt in the world. I've actually traveled to Iceland. Their geothermal powered island is beautiful. There's just a sense of freshness in the air over there, and it translates to this salt. I love this salt. It's delicious. It's the most sustainable. Again, you can buy just the normal flaky sea salt, but they also have infused salts, which I've been using at home lately a lot. They have this birch smoked sea salt that I love using with seafood. They have the lava salt, which is super black and cool looking. It's got a certain different type of taste to it. They have the Arctic thyme salt, which I use for my pickling liquids. And again, guys, just don't think of salt as something to season post recipe. You can use all these salts in the recipe alone. At We The Pizza, we use their flaky sea salt in our dough preparation. And they have this seaweed salt that I just used at an event that I loved at the Indy 500. I made a plant-based crab cake, and I was looking for a little bit more of that ocean flavor. Guess what I used? Saltwerk's seaweed salt. Gave me just that ocean flavor that I needed for my plant-based crab cake. It was a hit. Guys, if you want to use my promo code, you can. It's at In The Weeds Pod. You can use it on their website. You'll get a 20% discount on all their items. Stock up. This salt is amazing. And again, it is powered 100% by geothermal energy, the most sustainable sea salt on the market. You're welcome. Get yours. No Salt Bay in the house, just Saltwerk. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the In the Weeds podcast, where we dive deep into the craziness of the restaurant industry and so much more. We discuss food, beverage, even food policy issues. Basically, if you love to eat and drink and are curious about this industry, this podcast is for you. I'm your host, Spike Mendelsohn, a recovering celebrity chef, a long life restaurant rat. From washing dishes in my family's businesses to cooking at Michelin star restaurants, competing in reality cooking competitions, and serving as an advocate for food policy issues, my life is always in the weeds. We're broadcasting live from the District of Columbia, our nation's capital. On today's episode, we're joined by the DC Chef of the Year in 2010 and 2016. He was the source behind the iconic Source restaurant. He has launched such renowned restaurants as Chiko in 2017 and Anju in 2019, which was named the #1 best restaurant in the nation's capital. He has been affectionately called Big Baby by Wolfgang Puck. Please welcome my good friend, the most competitive chef in DC, Scott Big Baby Drewno.
Here we go.
And the crowd goes wild for Drewno.
All right.
Dude, you're going to have to thank my producer for that intro.
That was a beautiful intro.
That was a fantastic. It's more than I would have given you myself, actually, I think.
I definitely know that. Yeah. I feel fired up right now.
Yeah, I would have left a lot of the big boy language out of there, and I would have replaced it with other things. It almost seems like it could be like your your WWE nickname.
Oh, I don't know who that producer is.
Big Baby Drewno.
My hype person now. Take him everywhere I go.
Hired. You're gonna steal him. You're gonna poach the producer now for something.
Wait, can I join the Fried Rice Collective then?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's your biggest dreams, your wildest dreams. You're going to live them through, Jason.
We pay in dumplings. So,
yeah. Speaking of which, I mean, I haven't not had a better dumpling in my life than the dumplings that you have given me in my life, Mr. Scott Drewno. I'm saying that right now.
That's very high praise.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Except for any other Asian restaurant that has been out there. But as far as a white boy dumpling, you are the best dumpling on the face of the planet. No, just
that means a lot.
Yeah, you literally can you. Okay, so Scott, we're good friends. We've been I've kicked your ass on DC Central Kitchen cooking competitions.
Oh yeah, we're here at DC Central Kitchen. They gave me a tour of the new facility, and they're like, "Hey, we want to bring up it's our 20th anniversary of the food fight, and we know you competed against the host on the show today." I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a vague but positive memory of mine." Spike,
vague.
Spike tried to make a salad in a cooking competition, and it didn't go as well as he would have liked. But
listen,
it was for a great cause.
Anthony Bourdain said he would brush his teeth with my nok cham. So,
hey, one of the highlights of my culinary career came from that after I dispatched you.
Yeah. Who was it? It was Eric Ripert and Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah,
and Jose Andres. We had the best. We had the best judges ever that year.
It was unbelievable. But in the second round, we made a scallop. I made a scallop dish, and it's awkward because you're standing there, watching the judge eat your food, and you're just freaking out because it's Anthony Bourdain and Eric Ripert and Jose, and you're like, the best of the best is like critiquing what we just made in under 20 minutes. But Eric Ripert leaned over to Anthony Bourdain and said, "Spot on cook on the scallop," and I was like, that's it. I retire.
Yeah,
it doesn't get any better than that.
I don't think I've ever seen you blush as much as you did that day.
Oh man, that was
like you were just permanently red, nonstop that day.
Yeah, that was definitely chalk it up there with incredible moments in your culinary life when your heroes are.
Oh my God! When your heroes become those guys that just compliment your food.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I almost peed my pants when on Top Chef Anthony Bourdain, similar.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy. He was the guy we all looked up, right?
That was the best.
I had, and speaking of scallops, I got kicked off for scallops basically on my original Top Chef show, right before the finals, and then so All-Star season. The first challenge was cook the dish you were kicked off for. Oh. So they gave me frozen scallops again. And
awesome.
It's not like I hadn't spent like the last 3 years of my life thinking about how I would have done that dish. Yeah, crying about it. So I knew exactly what the fuck I was gonna do. Right. I went in there and I sliced the scallops, gave him like a nuoc cham bath. I knew Anthony Bourdain was our judge that day, and I just did them raw. I was like, you know what? You gave them to me in frozen in water. I'm gonna throw them back in a bunch of flavored water. And he said I was the craftiest motherfucker to ever be on Top Chef. And you know what? That has warmed my soul for my entire life. I go to bed.
It's just printed in letters above your bed.
Yeah, the craftiest motherfucker. I was like, Anthony spoke those words. I think the anniversary was just a few days ago. I mean, we release these podcasts randomly, but I think, rest in peace.
Yeah, I mean, and I had that opportunity during the food fight. We were back in the green room together, and I mean, he is who he is. Everybody knows, but salt of the earth, like so kind, and we're all so giddy, in the back. It's like we're little kids, with our superstar in the same room, and he was just that was It was a great day, and definitely RIP.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you came to the podcast. Of course, you're familiar with DC Central Kitchen. We'll talk about them a little bit later, but great organization, and really has connected a lot of chefs together in this industry, 100%. Right?
Yeah, it's a beaubeautiful mission, a beautiful new facility, and they do so much great work. And always been proud to be.
But let's talk about you. Let's talk about you.
Ooh.
I want to talk about you. This one's going to be all about you, less about me. I know most of our conversations are about me usually when we get together, but this one's going to be all about you. So Scott, I always like kind of digging into people's backgrounds because most of the time, consumers, people out there that are going to your restaurants, they only know you from like today and like what, but they don't really, unless they're stalkers or something like that. They don't really go down in the deep and see like where you started, so like where did you start in this business? Like, were you always, what's fascinating is a lot of people come on this podcast and were like, I wanted to be a musician. A lot of chefs wanted to be something else rather than a chef. Is that you too? Like, were you studying for anything other than culinary, or did you know you wanted to be a chef? Or
not really. I don't really have any other talents.
Yeah.
I'm tone deaf, and I'm 6'5", but I can't jump. So I'm not good in sports. And
you don't play basketball.
No, I was a wrestler in high school. That was my love, was wrestling from when I was little through high school.
Yeah.
I grew up in a little small town called Penn Yan in the heart of the Finger Lakes on beautiful Chiko Lake. And I started times are different now. When I was like 11 and I wanted something, anything, a bike, my dad would be like, well, go mow the lawn. I'll give you $3.
Yeah.
So from that, from early on, I always started working. And on a farm, you can work, there's no child labor.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be now, but not when I was a kid.
Still probably.
Yeah.
They're way out there.
Yeah. So like we're way out there in the woods, like whatever. So I started tying grapes, as, kind of source of income when I was like 11. And, I loved being around food and the wineries. And, then I got a job in a restaurant when I was in high school and I was washing dishes.
Yeah. Well, what are the Finger Lakes like? Like, what is it like out there?
It's the most beautiful place in the world. We grow the best grape, Riesling. And, when I was a kid, I think there was like 60 or 70 wineries. And now the area is really taken off. There's over 300 wineries. So if you love wine and, we have fall 4 seasons up there. Unlike DC, we just go from summer to winter, back to summer.
Yeah.
We have a week of spring here or so and a week of fall. But
so were you working on farms? You grew up on a farm or?
I didn't grow up on a farm, but we just worked on them. That was, was what we could do, And then, in high school, we also like tied grapes and shucked corn and, I baled hay, picked cabbage.
Yeah.
We were always around farming where I grew up. It's a big farming, kind of hub up there. And I just loved it. I love where our food comes from. And it's so seasonal up there. Like, I'm going home, I always go home for July 4th. And my wife, who's my high school sweetheart, we've been together for 34 years.
Beautiful.
Bless her heart.
Yes,
she's a saint.
Definitely bless her heart. She's a super saint.
We're always talking about, I can't wait to get corn in upstate. And it's always just a little too early at July 4th. It really starts coming in upstate like end of July.
Yeah.
So we always make a trip back. But, the way we ate, up there was, the way we should all eat, seasonal, fresh produce stands, so tomatoes are starting up there. And, we have, tomato salads and fresh corn.
Was that growing up with was your family into food like that too? Like, was there, I would imagine not too much fast food out in those parts.
We have, in my hometown, we have one fast food restaurant, McDonald's. We have 7 stoplights. So it's a per capita, I guess. Yeah, and I don't know if we were not foodies, I don't think, but it's just what you did.
Yeah.
You waited till tomatoes came in, you waited till corn season, you waited to get green beans, that the growing season obviously a little shorter because we do have, some harsh winters up there, but.
So it was the rhythm of your life basically.
Without even knowing it.
Without even knowing it, just naturally, yeah.
Putting any thought to it until, obviously started to become a chef and really focus on seasonality and local. And then I started to realize hey, we've been doing this for my whole life, and I didn't know it was a thing. It was just, that's what you did.
Yeah. So what was your, all right, so you're out here in the Finger Lakes. Yep. You're the tallest guy in the Finger Lakes.
Yeah, definitely.
You're chucking corn. You're doing some of the dirty work, some of the good work, enjoying life. First restaurant job was in the Finger Lakes?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? Is that a diner or what was it?
I was an Apple Buddy.
Apple Buddy?
Applebee's.
Oh, Applebee's.
So they have a slogan. You can either be an Apple Buddy or an Apple Loser.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I could be an Apple Loser at that age. But for the most part, I think I was an Apple Buddy. But I worked in a college town. And I worked the fry station. It was half price munchies.
Yeah.
So you learn how to work on a kitchen line when you got, 300 people eating half price mott sticks, wings, onion rings.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride.
You just dropping fries, dropping
yeah, and it's and there's nothing like it.
Yeah.
So for me, working there, and you have some old salty cooks that have been there a while, and they're teaching you some bad habits. And, smoking cigarettes every break, and
What was one of the biggest bad habits? Was it what? For me, it was like the chicken with, and then you put the bowl on top of it and spray water to underneath it. That was you know what I mean? Expedited cooking with water.
I'd go to grab something out of my fry station, and they'd put mayonnaise on the handle.
Yeah.
There was definitely some hazing involved there when you were the young kid and the new one. But I loved it. Liquid smoke in your soda. There's a lot of fun things which I loved. That's
camaraderie. Yes.
And you're so busy, and you're just it's last night I was at Chiko Capitol Hill, and we do this kitchen counter tasting menu, and we do a lot of takeout. The place was, we got packed, and I felt like it was back then, you're just in the weeds. You don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Everyone is just not talking. Everyone's just focus on what's happening and try to make sure the guests are taken care of. And, you know, I got that, you know, that high from being in a kitchen when I was young. And I love the feeling of it. I love the chaos. I love the, you know, how it's almost like a ballet, you know, all kind of in motion, even though it's like things are lighting on fire and servers are bringing in wrong food and we're burning stuff in the kitchen and things are going south, but they're also in harmony and going so well.
I don't think, you know, I love that you say that because I don't think most people understand what a dance in the kitchen really is. Do you know what I mean? And like how it almost can feel like a symphony or like an orchestra or
100%.
And like the rhythmic vibe of it is you get this adrenaline rush,
it's
right?
Intoxicating.
And like the name of the podcast, in the weeds, and you're in the weeds, and you're just like, and there's no line in sight, and you're just like, all right, well, head down, and here we go. And every step seems like every 10 steps, it feels like you're taking the same 10 steps over and over again. It's just like boom, boom, and it's just. And that's the beauty. That's what keeps us adrenaline junkies in this business.
I just love it. And at that time, you know, I'll age myself a little bit, but you know, there weren't really, you know, Spike Mendelsohn celebrity chefs. There weren't celebrity chefs. There wasn't a Food Network, and I wanted to work in restaurants. But my parents' frame of reference was like, you know, hometown we have bars that serve food. You know, and it's like they all have kind of the same menu then. It was like fish and chips on Friday, some overcooked spaghetti out of a box, you know, the rest of the week. So it wasn't like it is now where food's changed. So my parents were like, it's not a career. You know, like you can't do this with your life. I was like, no, this is great. And so I went to college, you know, it's like, you know, liberal arts, you know, and I was working in restaurants and I loved the restaurants, and my parents were like, no. But after my sophomore year,
so wait. So you were Apple Buddy.
I was Apple Buddy.
Friars. And then you stayed there for a while.
Yeah, well, I was there probably like a year and a half. And then I worked at a small Italian restaurant in our college town. Which was just like a great chef and like one cook and me. I was like prep dishwasher. Then I started to cook a little bit. And I just decided at that point, you know, I was kind of, you know, going through the phases of college at that time because I wasn't inspired by what I was doing. I mean, it just wasn't for me. And so I decided to drop out when I turned 21 and I moved to Las Vegas. And so my parents were like really happy with me at that time that I decided to be like, nah.
Scott, you got a huge limp, so every time you raise your hands and you hit the table, it's like you're shaking the whole entire room.
That's on purpose.
All right.
Like Thor's hammer.
Just like, you guys, I'm glad we got the video of this too. It's fantastic. So okay, wait. So quick question: were you as surprised when you were young, being an Apple Buddy on, I imagine you had to clean the fryer. Were you like the first time ever, you're like, wait, what? Like, what? How does it, I got this like thing that I stick in and I gotta like get the grease out and the chunks out? Were
you know, you learn once when after you do all that and then you go to refill it and you don't
you don't close the spigot?
And the oil just, you know, you worked your whole shift, you cleaned, you're sweating like it's dirty, and you're like, fryer is beautiful, and then you go to refill and you forget to close the spigot and just oil runs all over the floor. There's nothing worse than trying to clean up oil on the floor.
Oh my God, boxes of salt. Boxes of salt.
So much salt.
Yeah, you just gave your whole case of salt to the floor. All right, so Italian restaurant, you're feeling it afterwards, you know, like I guess you were making pasta or flipping some, you know, making some vongole.
There was pasta on the menu. There was definitely, you know, like big chicken parms. And, you know, but again, I just love the feeling of being in a kitchen. You know, and I think a kitchen, like anyone can go in there and, you know, if you put your head down, if you keep your station clean, if you learn how to cook, if you learn those skills, you know, anyone can work in a kitchen. So that's why, to me, it was great because there's people from all over the world, like, you know, different backgrounds than me and different experiences, and to be able to talk and with different people and talk through food. You know, and you know, in any restaurant, you know, you're not just cooking like, you know, at Chiko, where obviously we focus on Chinese and Korean food, but this morning Guadalupe made tamales.
Yeah.
So then we're eating tamales and talking about tamales, and it's just there's.
Are you opening a tamale place now?
No.
Because
I tried to make.
Because it's how it starts, right? Isn't it? Someone makes something in the kitchen just for family, and they're like,
we should put this on the menu somehow.
All right, so you went. Okay, so high school was the thing. Your parents tried to talk you out of it. They were like, "No." It's funny because my parents they had nothing but talked me into the restaurant industry. I was like, it's complete opposite. Yeah. But all right, so you went to college. You actually one of these chefs that went to college. There's very few of those.
Yeah. So I was in college, and like I said, I put a high value on education, and after I dropped out, I did go back and finish my degree in business because I think education is. Like I was saying about being in a Chinese Korean kitchen eating tamales, I think when you're having an education, like for me, like I remember being in calculus class as an older, I was like 27 when I went back. I started to think about the way I was plating food a little differently. Just you working different parts of your mind, and you're open to other, experiences, and that education kind of helps in all facets of your life.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
So,
all right. So at what point did you? Okay, so So when did you start taking food serious? Like when was now I'm taking food seriously? Like did you go work for somebody?
Yeah. So when I moved to Las Vegas.
By the way, you can this one of these is for you.
Which one?
They're all three of them. You choose. You choose. I'd like to see this one at your restaurant.
What is this?
I put a dragon on this thing just for you.
Oh man. That's great.
It'd be great at Chiko.
Do you have a tattoo of this dragon?
It's green tea. There's, what? My sales guy has a whole back tattoo. He's my ops guy, Ed Castro, actually. He has that exact tattoo all down his back. But it was from the Honesty days. Oh. It wasn't from, because Honesty, obviously was this brand before, and they had this flavor called Green Dragon. So we renamed it Dragon Green, but then he started working for us and he showed me the tattoo. I'm like, you're crazy. This is crazy.
Is that how you avoid any copyright sort of thing? You just switch the words from Green Dragon to Dragon Green?
That's right.
Oh, wow. That's
right.
You are a crafty bastard. Oh, can I swear on that?
You can swear all you want.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Yeah. We're even not going to edit out the part that you think you couldn't swear. You'd be like, oh, sorry. That's right. Oopsie daisy. All right. Yeah. So let's hear about what lit the fire under.
So then I moved
Scott
to Las
Drewno's,
Vegas.
Yeah.
And,
I didn't know you were in Vegas for a bit.
I lived in Vegas for about 6 years, and I walked into Chinois, which is Wolfgang Puck's Asian restaurant that the original opened in 1981 and is still open today in Santa Monica.
It is?
Yes.
Wow.
So it's a testament to Wolf, and that restaurant's really amazing.
I can't believe they got away with naming a restaurant Chinois.
Yeah, well, back in the day. So, but the thing about that was, Wolf, I think, such an innovator with a lot of different things, but doing fusion, in the early 80s wasn't something, but fusion can be a little confusing now where it's sushi burritos and different things, but Wolf's a classically trained French chef, and his theory on the restaurant was pretty simple. It was like French techniques, Asian ingredients.
Yeah.
Because he fell in love with Asian ingredients and, classically trained French, so we're making lobster curry, but we're using a French technique to make the sauce.
Totally.
And it was just really delicious and beautiful food. So they were opening an outpost in Las Vegas. I moved there. My wife was the one that, when I first got to Vegas, I started working at Ruth's Chris.
Okay.
Which again, a restaurant like Ruth's Chris, really good for fundamental skills and learning how to work in a kitchen, teamwork, timeliness, consistency.
How to push it out.
Yeah. How to burn yourself on a 500-degree plate every time you.
They play it on sizzle platters, there, right? It's a sizzling steak, or no?
But they're just plates. They're not
they're just plates.
They're just 7,000-degree plates.
I
probably still have some scars.
From it.
Trying to grab a stack and plate too many.
I love a steak on a hot plate. It's just so good.
So good. Yeah, so I was working there, and then Wolfgang was opening, and back then, again, to date myself, when you got a new job, you looked into classifieds.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah, good old classified. The good old culinary classified.
So for you kids out there, there was actually classified ads in newspapers that we would get at the house.
Yeah.
So my wife, Allison, like I said, my high school sweetheart, she had just circled Chinois was opening and looking for cooks, and she just left the classified on the table, And then at night I got home from work. She's like, "Did you see what I left you?" I was like, "I don't have the chops to work there. It's like Wolfgang Puck, you know."
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm 21. I don't, you know, I don't really have the, you know, skill set. And she's like, "You should just go apply." She was like kicking the baby bird out of the nest.
Yeah.
So I went and I applied and I got the job on the first day. And my first job was hot prep at Chinois. And hot prep made all the stocks, sauces, and family meal.
The base of all the cuisine.
Yeah,
You were
the foundation.
The foundation.
Yeah. So that was a really cool experience for me. But when I walked in that kitchen, you know, it's like so many things I'd never been exposed to, you know, that, you know, we take for granted today, because I think the world has really shrunk with Google, accessibility to travel.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like I didn't know what ginger was. You
Yeah.
know, I'm a, you know, kid from upstate New York, eating steak and potatoes my whole life. And then I walk in this kitchen, I'm like, ginger and roasted ducks and a 180,000 BTU wok and, you know, fermented Chinese black beans.
Yeah.
And just all these things are just like mind blown.
Yeah.
And immediately fell in love with it, devoted my life, you know, for the most part to cooking. You know, Chinese food is really my first passion to eat, to talk about, to cook, to, you know, it's always been, you know, my thing. So I just fell in love with there, and that was definitely the spark for me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of quickly moved up the ranks there, and, you know.
Did you get to develop a good relationship with Wolfgang at the point
Yeah.
at Chinois, or was that later on?
A little
or?
later on
Yeah.
from that. You know, Wolf obviously lives in LA, but, you know, would visit, you know, Chinois quite a bit. But there's a couple, you know, I think, you know, as we're on this path and we all have some mentors in our life. And there's a chef there, David Robbins, who still runs the Las Vegas Empire for Wolfgang. You know, he kind of took me under his wing. And, you know, like I said, I just dropped out of college and
Yeah.
I just wanted to cook,
Yeah.
but I didn't really have the direction of what to do. But David, you know, took an interest in me and taught me how to write menus and create dishes and depth of flavor. And, you know, I just have so many fond memories, like taught me how to break down a rabbit one day.
Yeah.
You know, so many things that he really, you
So,
know,
so to a certain extent, you're self-taught. You never went to culinary school.
Well, so at that time,
Yeah.
when I was at Chinois and Bruce Chris before, I was just working at night, and I was going to a Cheyenne Community College culinary art program.
Okay,
So I was about a year and a half in of a 2-year program, and
you had the support of your family for that, or they were like still like, "Oh, Scott Drewno, just taking the
you know, so my parents,
wrong road."
You know, my parents
Yeah.
they don't fly, and so they hadn't come to Vegas yet. And
Yeah.
I'd been there like a year and a half, and they didn't understand, like, you know, and I didn't have the understanding of what a restaurant was until
Yeah.
I got into Chinois and
Yeah.
I saw service, and, you know, Spago was right across the hall, and, you know, when you get into restaurants like that, you're like, wow, this is like, you know, mind blowing. And my parents were like, "Oh, this kid in Vegas, you know, this wayward kid," you know.
Yeah.
And they finally came out. They took a train from upstate New York. So it's
Yeah.
like my parents 3.5 days on a train to come.
to New York. What did they
From-
fly for? Just don't trust the plane.
Well, there's a story that they flew on their honeymoon in 1969 to Florida, and they started giving out champagne on the plane.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Why would they give out champagne? The plane's going to crash. They never give anything for free anywhere."
Yeah.
And so they were like freaking out on the flight. It was just, they were like, you know,
Yeah.
saluting them for getting married and gave everybody on the plane champagne.
Yeah.
You know, different time.
Yeah.
And
They're all
so-
smoking cigarettes, drinking champagne on the airplane. Yeah.
Exactly. So they were freaked out. So they actually had to rent a car and drive back to upstate New York from the honeymoon. So they just never flew.
They never flew again. I love that. I like that.
So they took a 3-day train ride out to Vegas, and that was the time too that they came in and sat down and had dinner. And when you first have dinner in a fine dining environment, it can be intimidating. I remember being intimidated when I was younger and first going into those restaurants. But they saw like, oh wow, maybe this is a career.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
it is the polished service, the sommelier.
It was a moment. It was a moment between your parents, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm on the path. I'm
and
on the
finally,
path.
my dad was like, okay.
Yeah, you got this.
know,
That feels good, right?
Which felt great. Because,
Yeah.
I always wanted, his approval, obviously, and I didn't have it when I was like dropping out of school and
Totally, yeah.
working in a kitchen. And but when he
my
came out
son,
there,
the dishwasher.
yeah,
yeah.
So when they both came out there, I think that some light bulbs went off and they're like, oh, maybe this is a thing.
Yeah.
And at that time I'd been promoted. I was a sous chef. And so I was kind of running the kitchen. So that was cool to have them come out while I was.
So were you about to say you turned your back on culinary school?
So
You said,
yes.
yeah. Is that what
different time. So I had one boss at the time and he was like, hey,
Yeah.
you can be a sous chef.
Yeah.
Or you can finish this culinary school thing.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like, it's
yeah,
your choice. You want to
yeah.
make X salary, and you're really learning everything you need to learn here.
Right.
And of course, at that time, I was like, oh, I want to be the sous chef then.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
It's like, yeah, you're quickly developing, like a rapport of dropping out of college schools. And, yeah, why not? Dropped out
I've
of
done it
college,
before.
drop out of this
This
shit.
is easy.
Yeah.
So, I'm forced with that choice, which, I obviously learned I would never put that choice on anybody else. I would always encourage anyone to finish school, and I would make.
What about culinary school? Would you tell people to go to culinary school? Knowing where you know now?
I think every education is important.
Yeah.
And so I think culinary school built, some of the best chefs we know, went to CIA and,
Thank you.
present company not included. I was thinking of my friend Adam Sobel, who I just talked to. I didn't know you went there, so I'm surprised.
Adam Sobel, best chef in America.
Sobel there. Here we go.
He's an animal too, though, man.
He's so good.
Sobel's an animal.
So talented. So I definitely, any education's important, and I think we all find our path in different times.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily, if going to culinary school when you're 18 and you're not sure you want to cook is the best idea.
Sure.
I think you really want to be sure that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste the time, the money, and the effort.
Yeah. Well, it's also good if you have the opportunity to get a little bit of experience like you did at any type of restaurant.
Yep.
I say any type of restaurant.
100%.
Because the culture of a restaurant, it doesn't matter if you're at Bennigan's or Applebee's or you're at the most fine dining restaurant.
Yep.
To a certain degree, the rapport is what the rapport is, right?
Like we said earlier, the dance and the
the dance is the dance.
symphony of it is they're all very similar.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I've worked in different restaurants and fine dining to casual. They're the fundamental of how the kitchen operates from the culinary side is definitely very similar.
Yeah. All right. So you're in Vegas.
Yeah.
And you stayed in Vegas for quite some time.
5.5 years. I remember one day my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, we were driving someplace.
Is she your high school sweetheart?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to double check on that one.
Yeah. Just to put that out there. Love of my life. She's the best. Is she listening? I didn't even tell her.
She's actually tuned in right now.
Yeah.
I tell her. There's a button she told me to press if there's something that happens, and then you just disappear.
Yeah. So we were in Vegas for like 5.5 years, and one day we were driving to work, and she's like, Vegas is starting to feel like home. I'm like, yeah, it's great, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, I got into grad school in Manhattan. We're leaving.
You're like, well, you know what? First of all, like I outside in, I met you in DC, right?
Yep.
And and by the way, getting out of Vegas is probably the best decision you ever made to a certain extent.
I didn't make it, but yeah, my lovely wife.
Your lovely of your life, high school sweetheart wife. She made a fantastic decision there.
She did.
I almost worked in Vegas, but I failed I applied at Le Cirque.
Oh yeah.
And
that
I
was
got
hot when I was there.
and I got hired, but I didn't pass my hair follicle test.
Oh.
So then I had to jump in a car, and I had only a day and a half to get to Napa to go work to accept a job at Bouchon because it was my backup. Bouchon was my backup. Yeah, that's right, Thomas Keller. You're my backup. You were my backup. I drove through Death Valley throughout the middle of the night.
Oysters and Pearl. Whatever.
Yeah, and showed up at Bouchon. By the way, a decision I never regretted. I loved working at that restaurant. Great restaurant. But all right, so like I met you in DC, but what I did love about you is that, you're not your typical. You don't have your typical chef background, and what I mean by that is like you definitely stuck with Wolfgang.
Yeah, 17 years.
For a long time, whereas a lot of different chefs would have jumped and maybe put in another 5 different restaurants under the resume rather than sticking. And there's something to be said about, sticking with one place and doing that, right? So that to me was always like a thing. Before I knew you really well, I was just like, oh man, that's respectable. Like I like that. But it also, the other thing I love is that, your wife and you are truly partners to the degree, because some of that was because she had grad school, right?
Yeah.
And you had to have a stable job.
Yep.
You had to be a little bit selfless. with your career and not take some of the risks some of these others have gone. And she finally, she's very successful. She graduated, did all that kind of stuff. But it's almost like the roles have reversed a little bit in the last 5 years to a certain degree, where she's good, she's done her school, she's doing her thing, and now you're out here kind of pushing the envelope,
I always
right?
joke with her that I worked for the first 25 years of our life. You get the last.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
She's like, you're going to work until you're in the grave.
True, but to a certain extent, you're kind of
but 100%.
Right.
When she graduated, and she's a clinical psychologist and has her own practice, I was able to take a risk at that time. And open our company. Danny and I opened our company. So what
was that challenge like? You are working for was it 17 years, 19 years? Would you say?
17 years.
17 years.
16 and a half. A round up.
At the Source was how long?
10.
10 of those years were at the Source.
Yep.
Was one of my favorite restaurants in DC when I first came on the scene. The Mike Isabella platter. We don't have to talk about Mike, but rest in peace. So the dumpling platter was there. It was amazing.
Yeah.
All the food was amazing there, and I was always blown away. You saw me come in all the time.
Yep.
But so how hard was that
looking
decision?
for a free meal, Spike Mendelsohn.
Listen, I was looking for free meals all over the city, but I brought paid customers, so my meal was free for the most part. I was just starting my career too, man.
We did a food swap with good stuff the other day, so I had a free burger the other day. It was delicious.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, nice, nice. You get free pizza here today.
Yeah, perfect.
So,
Montreal bagels.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. Don't you worry. We're gonna talk all about Montreal. So how that was maybe one of your biggest decisions in your career, right?
Oh yeah. And I try to tell people, and everybody has their own path, and so there's a lot of ways to get to where you want to, but for me, being consistent and working for one person for 16 years, because there's so many highs and lows in restaurants. It's just like you get good reviews, you get bad reviews, people call out, you make a dish that somebody doesn't like, you get accolades. There's so much high and low, and I try to tell people, it's a roller coaster that you need to kind of don't get too high and don't get too low.
Yes.
And it goes from day to day, and I would never encourage anyone to stay in a hostile work environment or something that's not working, but the day-to-day grind sometimes, it's not always pretty in our life, and if you're not there to eat the grind, it's probably not the business for you.
Totally.
And you gotta, like I said, I tell every new chef, don't get too high because you get a good review, because in 3 days someone might tell you it's the worst dish you ever had.
Fluctuation.
And you gotta just kind of ride the middle, stay consistent. And it taught me a lot about weathering the storms, and once you can really be in a restaurant, you really can make an impact after some time, know. And it's hard if you're only there for a year, because that year on your resume you wanted, it's hard to really make an impact.
Totally.
In that short. You really got to get in there and feel it and understand and be part of the culture of the restaurants and help to create a positive culture, and then you're really making an impact.
Absolutely. I can agree with you more there. I mean, and it's refreshing to hear you say it. So how different was the cuisine at Chinois versus the Source? Because it still feels like you had to a certain degree, French technique as the base.
A little bit of French technique, but we were a little, I guess, more adventurous at the Source. Chinois was very established, like I said, from 1981, and Wolf had opened Chinois in Vegas, I think, in 1996. So you already had a 15-year run of a very successful restaurant. You had the blueprint. Yeah. Whereas the Source, he wanted to do something brand new. Yeah. So there was a lot of creativity, and his partner, Lee Hefter, I'd mentioned David earlier. I have two kind of role model mentors. Lee Hefter is the other one, and Lee is just an amazing cook, and he can cook any cuisine, any style, and he's really good at pushing the envelope in creating dishes. And so,
what I don't know Lee,
Lee was Wolf's partner for 25 years.
Okay,
he was like Food and Wine Best in Chef in 19 whatever, and he's won all the awards. Spears, he's an absolute beast, and he would hate me saying this, but I would put him up against any chef anywhere. Yeah. He's very humble and doesn't like to talk about it, but I didn't even know who he was. So and taught me how to cook. And how to build flavors and how to put dishes together. And, little things like it's really important, just as important when you leave off the dish is what you put on the dish, Scott. Because I'd be trying to 17 steps to the plate, and he'd be like, what are you doing, guy?
You're like scallion curling the plate, and he's like, get that curl out of there.
Like, is this adding anything to this dish, Scott? Like, and I just remember his face, like, what are you doing? Like, simplify this. Like, what you're doing on the base level is delicious, and you're clouding the dish. So he just taught me everything I know. So when we were opening the source, it was all new recipes. Everything was new. So, that's really challenging when you're trying to open a restaurant and like there's no base.
Yeah.
Like you're just like everything was new.
And some stuff's going to stick. Some stuff is not going to stick. You have to.
Oh, trust me. Talk about, highs and lows. We really wanted 3 stars from the Post, and Tom's first review was 2.5 stars. And I cried myself to sleep. I swear, man. The big baby came out then. I was so heartbroken. When you open a restaurant, you work so hard. The team put so much time in. Yeah. You wanted to bring that home. Thankfully, there was a re-review 6 months later, and we got the third, 3 stars. But
you just felt like an Apple buddy at that point. Right?
Apple loser.
Apple loser. Yeah, an Apple loser. That's right. So Scott, it's interesting. Like, you come out with the restaurant. I love like, with this one specifically, you start from scratch, no recipes. I don't think too many people understand like the work that goes in and the trials that go into a lot of these dishes on the menus, and how it fluctuates definitely within the first 6 months of the restaurant. Yeah. Then you finally, you kind of hit a stride maybe, after a year, 1.5, let's just say.
Take some time.
Yeah, you're feeling good, your stride. But then what are the things that Wolfgang was able to like, how did you keep innovating? Because I know the answer to this, but like you did a lot of travel, like how and like how was that as part of like this whole journey, being able to kind of go abroad and bring what you saw? I think there was a couple times like you'd be like, I just got back from trying to check this thing out that I'm going to put out there, right? So it was like. Like how gratifying is that?
I mean, that's the best, to be able to at a point where you can start to travel. And, I think travel is the most important thing to me, just on a lot of levels, but learning different food, but different culture, meeting different people, seeing that like, the way, where I was raised in a village of 4,000 people, like that's not most people in the world's life. Yeah. It's totally different. And being able to go to different cities and experience, different people is so rewarding and eye-opening. And the food, like just eating different things. Like I just went to Montreal, like, this guy gave me some recommendations.
This guy.
And it's something that, I still love, like, just going.
A big fat pickle for his birthday, I heard, from Schwartz's.
That was the best. Schwartz's Deli, they don't have cake there, but they put a candle and a big pickle for me. So it's a special touch. It made me feel good. And that's what I love about the hospitality. This is a random restaurant, but you had friends there, and then another friend of mine had friends there, and I told them I was going, and they were like, we're all like that sandwich shop. I cooked dumplings and noodles. Like it's the same feel though. You see the kitchen, the energy, the vibe.
It's my uncle. It's my uncle's place. Do you see him on the wall?
I did. Yeah. I did see him on the wall.
Of course, he posts a lot of picture of himself. He's part of the family. Yeah.
But it was
Uncle Paul on the wall.
It was it's such a fun experience to go and like.
Yeah. So Montreal as a food. Let's go to Montreal for a second. As Montreal as a food city, what was it your first time?
My first time in Montreal, which I think anyone that lives here in the DC area, you definitely should go. It's an hour and 20-minute flight, like super quick to get there. Yeah. And it feels really like a European city.
Yeah. Oh, it's really, I go to Montreal several times throughout the year. I drive most of the time because I got it down pat. So my buddy and I, just a few months ago, we left at 3 p.m.
Okay.
Well, we've done this a couple times actually. We left at 3 p.m. and we wanted to go skiing, right? So we drove all the way to Tremblant. We got in at like 11:30 at night, 12 o'clock. We went through the smallest little border. We like both hit a whiskey at the bar. Bar closed. Next morning we were on the ski slope at 8 a.m. The other time we left at 3 p.m. here. We're getting to Montreal at 12, and I'm looking for bistros. And I make a reservation for 12:45 at a bistro.
Oh, the best.
We left Virginia, and then we roll into this bistro at night. Escargot, pâté de campagne, Like we're just killing it from the get. And it is, to Scott's point, guys, it is close. Jump on a flight. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's like being in Europe. It's the closest piece of Europe you can find.
I agree. And it's just a cool, funky city. It's, the people are cool, and the food was amazing. Like we had so many good meals. And like you said, we went to, you give me a whole list. You and your sister gave me this whole list of places, and we went to several of them. But like the steak frite place we went to, La Express, I think it was called.
L'Express, yeah.
Oh my God, it was so good. And we couldn't get in there until like 9:30 at night.
Of course.
So, but you go to 9:30, places packed, and just get this big vat of mustard and a thing of gherkins on the table.
Oh, yes.
Crushing it before the even food starts, and steak frites is unbelievable. And I had.
Do they do it? I forget that. Remind me. Do they do it in two settings there? Like give you half of your steak with fries and then give it again?
No, that one was just straight up.
Straight up. Okay.
Straight up,
because there's a place called L'Entrecôte in Paris.
That does it. So
and they're famous.
They do it twice.
Yeah, they do it twice.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's. But okay, so the steak free place. Where else did you go?
So Joe Beef, which
you did get a Joe Beef reservation. Did my boy hook you up with Joe? Or somebody else did?
No, he didn't. It turns out
Chuck Hughes. Did you go to see Chuck Hughes?
We went to Garde Manger the next night. But the first night, Joe Beef, which I'd always wanted to eat there. I've heard. We had a funny exchange about Joe Beef.
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to get a reservation. And you're like, we have other restaurants in Montreal. I'm like, yeah, but I really want to go to that.
Yeah, I know. I know how it is. I know how to, yeah.
But that, like so many times, like you have a restaurant like that you're so hyped in your mind you want to eat at. And for me, a lot of times it's kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
Well, Joe Beef was anything but a letdown.
Oh, yeah.
Joe Beef was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And I was nervous. Like I get in there and it's like, there's no uniforms on the servers really.
Right.
Like
yeah.
The wine glasses are,
and your expectations are
nice.
high. Yeah.
They're not, the silverware is not like some fine polished, silver. And I was like, am I in trouble here?
Yeah.
Is this going to be like hipster? But man,
No, they cook,
crushed.
man.
And the service was incredible. The service was amazing. And it turns out this guy, Julian, that was a bartender in D.C., he's from Virginia. He works at Joe Beef.
Oh, yeah.
So that's actually, I got in there. He kind of saw.
Oh, Julian here?
Yeah.
In D.C. now?
No, he's at Joe Beef.
Oh, he's in Joe Beef now. Okay.
Julian he worked at Masseria. I think he worked with Todd Thrasher for a long time.
Oh, okay. Oh, good.
And I just knew him, from going to bars. And he was there, and the service was incredible. The food was unbelievable. Like,
what were the dishes like? What were a couple standouts there that you?
We didn't have any beef.
Yeah.
Even though the name is Joe Beef. But they have. We started with the shellfish platter.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't even think that would be on the menu. I don't
with
know
the Nordic shrimp on that thing?
Yeah,
by any
Nordic
chance?
shrimp.
Oh,
and,
the Nordic
oysters,
shrimp.
They were saying like they're so fastidious about the oysters, like the shucker, like they use like 1 out of every 3 oysters. And
Yeah.
It's just like perfect oysters,
Yeah.
and it's just unbelievable. And there was a porchetta for the entree, and tartare, of course, just beef tartare.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Your next thing with Montreal is going to have to be, and you have to book in advance, and we could probably hook up and get a reservation. Maybe we'll go together. But Sugar Shack.
Oh yeah, so did not go to Sugar Shack.
Yeah, so same kind of group of guys that opened up the place, Cabana Sucre. There's like there's these things called Cabana Sucre, which are they're like on farms, on maple farms, and they're like breakfast cabins, and like they put out like a whole smorgasbord of breakfast items, and it's like they have all the homemade maple syrup there.
Not those bagels though.
What? No. Oh my God, we're getting to the bagels real soon. We're gonna end with the bagels because we're just gonna be mad at. I'm gonna be mad at you. And then so he took the idea of a Sugar Shack and did like this crazy concept, right? So he bought a farm. He taps all his own maples. He raises all his own Berkshire pigs on it and farms. He has this crazy restaurant. It's booked out 3 years in advance, Scott.
Wow.
Right? And you get there, and it's a 2.5 hours. It's only open for about a month and a half, 2 months of the year, right? And you get there, and it's maple syrup everything. I'm talking about like they'll do like a bluefoot chicken a la Bresse, right? Mm-hmm. And they'll stud it with foie gras and truffles, and they'll make like a maple bourbon, like Beurre Blanc, to go on top of it. They'll serve it in a big cast iron pole, and then they'll come out with a tower of maple syrup, everything, and they'll do the hams outside with the pineapples,
But it's out, like rustic outdoor.
It's rustic. It's
so
out
see,
there.
like the tapping of the trees.
Oh yeah, they got an evaporation room. They got a cookbook actually it was absolutely amazing. But I'm glad you went there. How was you got to meet Chuck or you didn't meet him at Garde Manger?
Yes, so I met Chuck at Garde Manger, and Garde Manger was unbelievable too. The shellfish platters, and that was really the shellfish platter there was really cool with some tartars, and it was really the food was really delicious. We had really great food like the whole time we were there. But we had two good guys, you and your sister.
Yeah.
Kind of.
What else? Any lunch places or Chinese food?
We had Schwartz. Oh, and I don't know what the name of it is, but it's like kitty corner across the street from Schwartz. There's a soup dumpling place.
Oh, yeah.
That I was like,
I
cannot go past a soup dumpling place without like immediately like it's like a magnet just drawing me in there. So I'd been eating like a savage for 2 days at that point. I'm like, I still got to get soup dumplings, and like they were really delicious.
Yeah. So what's your take on smoked meat versus like corned beef and pastrami of America? Because people are always like, why don't you open a smoked meat place in the United States? I'm like, well, I don't think people are going to get it. And I think people are going to compare it against this. And even though it's super delicious, you got the Mile End guys that opened up in New York. I don't know if you knew that. They opened one up.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I think people will compare it, and that's a hard thing because people have a frame of reference of, the Cat's Deli style. Which is thicker and a little bit different.
Yeah.
And, I think that, and I learned that, we were talking about that first review in the Washington Post. When we first opened the source, we had a pad thai on the menu. Yeah. And he was very critical of the pad thai, and he had mentioned like, I get it in my corner place, and we took that off and put a drunken noodle on where there's not as much frame of reference for that dish, and then we got the third star. Because I think there's some dishes that people are like, hey,
they want to compare.
I know what a pastrami sandwich is, and they're going to be like, this is not a pastrami sandwich. Yeah. So it's I thought it was delicious. Schwartz was amazing. We had poutine, fries and gravy with some.
Do you have any liver over there? Chuck orders the liver.
Yeah,
he orders the liver when he goes there all the time. It's so funny. He just has a plate of liver and just loves it with mustard.
No, I got a meat stick. I got a.
Oh yeah. The meat stick is good too.
I got the beef sandwich. The smoked meat sandwich. It was great.
Okay. Any randos? Any randos unrecommended places that you went to, or?
Where else did we go? I went to a hydrotherapy spa, a Nordic spa. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was great, man. Where you start with like the steam room, then cool shower, then the hot plunge for like 15 minutes, and the cold plunge, and you just go in a cycle and relax.
I need to get that one.
It's unbelievable. All right. It's so refreshing.
All right, so what's your hiccups with the bagels? Okay, what is your hiccup with the bagels? All right, first of all, let's talk about bagels here, New York style bagel. Okay, like they're very puffy,
delicious.
I'm not gonna say they're not great. Okay?
I hope you would.
Because I'll say.
Have you ever been to Essa Bagel in New York?
Yes, I have, and they're great bagels. They're great bagels.
They're exceptional.
But they're not really what a bagel should be. So I mean, they're more bread. It's just so bread. The bagels here are just so bread heavy for me, right? I like these.
Listen, if I was in Montreal and someone said,
"Did you get them fresh out of the oven?"
Yes. Here's a pretzel,
and you didn't like that.
This is a delicious pretzel.
What's? You guys have a donut as a bagel in America, is what it is. You have a glorified.
It's a pretzel.
A pretzel.
It's so
how dare you? How dare you? How dare you?
They should serve with a side of mustard.
I have Mafia Connects too. Next time you're in Montreal, I'm going to tell you where to go get a bagel. Paul's going to be sitting there waiting for you.
Vicious, yeah.
All right, well, we can agree to disagree. I mean, like, listen, I'd say with half of. I'd say 50% of your food interests in life is what you were brought up eating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the special food groups that you're going to gravitate to, like whether it's this, like the reason I like smoked meat more than pastrami or Katz's Deli, the reason I like a Montreal bagel more than a New York bagel, because they're hot out of the oven, really fucking delicious, and we boil them in honey water. Yeah.
I didn't taste any honey water. I'll tell you that.
But you weren't impressed at all with the bagel place at all? You went to did you go to Fairmont or you go to St. Viator?
I thought for a minute we were going to pitch like the Montreal Tourism Board to have some chefs from here go up. I don't think they're going to let me come if I keep.
Did you go to Fairmont or St. Viator?
I'm not going to tell you where I went.
So you probably fucking went to Fairmont.
Business.
You probably went to Fairmont Bagel.
There's a line out the door.
You went to Fairmont Bagel is what it is. Yeah.
With Scott Drewno's opinion.
Guys, I'm rolling back the camera. He went to Fairmont Bagel, which is not what I told him to do. I said St. Viator.
I'm not going to tell you where I went, but I went to the place you're supposed to go. And
Oh, really?
line out the door.
I don't know about this.
I'm going to give you my dentist bill for the chipped tooth.
Once they were out of the oven, they got to be hot and delicious. All right, so Scott, you're here. You're in Vegas. You're here at the Source in DC. You've paid your dues with Wolfgang.
Yep.
You've got a plethora of like experience there, consistency. I love it. I love what you did there.
Yep.
The Doomsday for Wolfgang Puck. How did he feel? How did he take the news? Are you still friends? You've went on to do your own thing.
Yeah.
Is it tough for him to swallow?
I think, did I mention I'm with my high school sweetheart?
Yeah.
I don't really, I'm going to say breakups are hard to go through. I haven't really gone through many of them, but I think any breakup is hard. I was very invested in Wolfgang and he was very invested in me, and we spent a lot of time together.
Where else could you have gone with Source, I guess?
I wanted to, I spent most of my life in fine dining with Wolfgang, and I wanted to open like dumpling and noodle shops. Like I just wanted to do something a little more casual, and not that I was burnt out, I would say, on fine dining, but I wanted to shift my focus from like, like when someone breaks a burned-out plate.
Yeah.
The whole place is like, there's a $120 plate down the drain. Right. When someone breaks, like a Riedel stem, that's $25. Yeah. You get so much pressure from your shining glass and still for like the budgets and I didn't really want to worry about that. I wanted to kind of just focus on, making great food and not worry about that. And in fine dining, there's so many fine points that you have to focus on. Yeah. It's not just like you get a number and, we focus on the food and we call your number out, you come pick it up. Like you focus on so many different things. I wanted to kind of streamline what my focus was and just focus on the food. So at that point, so Danny and his mom are both chefs, and they have a restaurant called Mandu on A Street, and Mandu happens to be right behind my condo. And so I would walk home from the Source to my condo, and some nights I would take a detour around my condo, go to Mandu, because the bar is open until 3 a.m.
Oh yeah,
and I would
remember those days.
When I first moved to town, Danny and I became fast friends.
Bulgogi tacos?
Yeah, and, Danny and I would just, chat every night about our careers and, just whatever, just kind of decompress after shift. Yeah. And, he was wanting to do something a little fun. Like Mandu is very traditional, home style, and there's not a lot of deviation from classic Korean recipes there. And Danny was kind of feeling like he wanted to do something where it was a little, funkier and a little, we could take some liberties, I guess. Yeah. And I wanted to do kind of similar things, just focus on dumplings and noodles. And, one night at the bar, we came up with Chiko, which is pronounced Chiko.
Not Chiko.
Most people say Chiko.
Fuckers. Don't say Chiko.
And then we're like passive aggressive, like they'll order like, can I have the Chiko G&T? Because we have a gin and tonic. And I'll be like, here's your Chiko G&T.
You guys are so passive aggressive with the name. It's your own fault.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen. So I was going to call it Chiko. And
every time I do, you go, it's fucking Chiko. In my opener, I was sweating bullets trying to just get the name of the restaurant right. Get the name.
We actually had some T-shirts made that spell it phonetically. And, so we don't care what you call it as long as you like it. But so Danny and I, came up with this idea and we ran with it. We opened the first one. We're going to have our 7-year anniversary for the original Chiko on Capitol Hill next month. Yeah,
we were really hurt. We were like, why Danny, not us? Why did Scott decide not to work with us and Danny instead? Now, you guys opened up. Opened up right down the block from us. First one.
Yeah, first one.
Off of A Street.
Off of A Street, yeah. I'm still rocking there.
You're still rocking. You brought a great vibe over there. Yeah. The food is absolutely delicious.
Well, thank you.
You know, my sister and I we order. Bethesda. We order that stuff all the time. Yeah. We love it over there. But so the transition to fast casual. I mean, it's you're a fine dining chef. You're let's say you are classically trained, just because you are
kind of through that.
Yeah. And now it's fast casual. Is it? Will you return to fine dining one day? Do you miss the fine dining? Are you not making any real decisions right now? You're just kind of vibing out, seeing where things go. Like, do you see yourself back there?
I think all options are on the table. And I do love fine dining. And we have a catering company that we launched called District Catering last year, and we do a lot of fine dining catering events.
Yeah.
Actually, last night I did an event that was inspired by my trip to Montreal. I had 30 people in. So our new space, Anju, at nighttime turns into an event space.
Yes.
So I had 30 people, and I have a lot of regular guests that book parties 20 and 30, and they're just like, whatever you want to cook, chef.
Yeah.
Which is great. So we're kind of all over the world when we cook.
Yeah.
And last night I did a celery remoulade to start, and then I did a steak frite to finish.
Ooh.
Oh man, I'll show you these pictures. This was,
Look at that.
I'd never had celery remoulade. I don't know why, but I had it for the first time when I was in Montreal.
Celery
And
remoulade, so good.
It's so good.
It's like the first thing in Europe and Montreal they make you make.
Oh really?
There are things like celery. Yeah.
Well, I think there's a world of difference. So, if the first one we made, we used the slicer, a mandolin.
Yeah.
And I was like, it tastes a little fibrous, the celery root. So the next one we made, we hand cut.
Brunos.
Julienne. And what a difference. Because the celery root, like when you're hand cutting it, it's not as mechanical. I don't think it like tears the fiber, or maybe it tears it more. I don't know the science behind it. I'm not Harold McGee, but it was so beautiful, like hand
So
cut.
good.
And it's so simple. It's like almost like a
It's
Dijonnaise.
cheap ingredient to make too. It's the first thing when I was working in the north of France. My first job was making celery remoulade. Oh yeah, look at that, so crunchy and fresh. Oh wow.
Steak free.
Oh man, I wish I would have went to this dinner.
Steak free, and it was kind of like I put individual ramekins with gherkins,
that looks so
Dijon, aioli, and we're in America, so I did ketchup too. Even though I think you'd
Ketchup is
shun me
ketchup
for that.
No, I'm
up
not
there.
shunning you for anything. I love ketchup.
But hanger steak, and then we did a little green peppercorn sauce on it. But it was so good.
Celery remoulade.
Celery remoulade.
That's for staff meal. I had to make celery remoulade every day in the north of France. Everyone, that was some of the best staff meals I've ever had. It was in the north of France when I was working. We'd like coq au vin. We'd have they bring in all the cheese left over the night before. And we're eating. Those are some of the best days. So all right. So you mentioned Anju.
Yep.
Chiko is first. You have how many locations? Tell people where they can find it.
5 locations at Chiko. Barracks Row is the original on 8th Street, DuPont Circle, Bethesda, Shirlington, Encinitas, California, just outside of San Diego, and forthcoming Sterling, Virginia, hoping November.
Very nice.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited. Yeah, and then we have Anju on 18th and S, which is more full service, modern Korean restaurant.
What's your build out costs on a restaurant like this? Like where
it really depends on the location. We're definitely second gen, so we want the space already built, unless the landlord is willing to pay for the build out.
Second gen folks out there mean that it's ready to go restaurant. Usually meaning like there's HVAC, there's hoods. You can kind of somewhat of a turnkey to if you don't want to mess around with the decor or anything else. But that's what a second gen.
Previously a restaurant. Yeah, and what we find is when you're doing new build outs from cold dark shells, is very expensive to run utilities.
Yeah.
So gas, to put the hood system in, like really expensive to run black iron, and so, we our model can fit into different boxes. It doesn't need to be like.
Can your model be all induction? Have you guys gone to that point
yet? So we are
yet?
concerned about that. The wok. The wok is a challenge because
Can't get around
you
the
get
wok.
that, a couple 100,000 BTUs and a flame, and you're getting the burnt, the wok hay, the flavor from that wok. That's hard to emulate.
Where did you get most of your wok cookery from? Which specific restaurant? Because I did Chinois. Yeah.
So I learned how to work the wok, and and that's another reason I fell in love with Chinese food is the method, steaming and wok stir frying. Like
isn't that the most fun
but it's so
station?
Much fun,
a wok station is so we I had the Vietnamese restaurant when we worked for Drew in New York, and we had a wok station there, and I fucking loved it. I loved working that thing. I loved boiling water in that thing. Just getting water. I'm like, what? Like, could blanch all these vegetables in the matter of seconds and refill it and have boiling water again in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that, and I always say chefs, if you trained in Italian or French, you can kind of go back and forth, and if you know how to saute or grill.
Yeah.
But you take someone that's never worked the wok before, I don't care who they are, what kind of acclaimed chef they are, and you put them on the wok, and you're like, go, man, they are burning everything that comes out of there. It's the best. I've seen it happen multiple times.
Remember
They're
when
like, show me how to work the wok. Yeah. I'll be like, all right, come on.
Remember when we had you come at Chef's house? in Maui.
Yeah. Oh, Chef Gordon.
You know, what did Steven Tyler say? Because so we had Steven Tyler coming by Shep is a legend. You guys go watch Super Mitch if you haven't. I could spend this whole podcast talking about Shep and what he's done for this industry.
Oh my God, he's amazing.
He's the GOAT. He's the GOAT of all goats of the industry, and good friends with Wolfgang, by the way. We're
sure.
Fantastic friends.
Yeah, it was his
manager, agent manager.
So Spike had me come in Maui to Chef Gordon's house, and he has this amazing house on the beach and open air kitchen, and there's like whale
restaurant hoods, restaurant hoods.
And there's like you can see whales in the distance. I'm like, what is this life? Unbelievable. He's like, yeah, right. I came here he told me Alice Cooper like in the 70s.
Yeah.
Fell in love with it, bought the place, and has been there, ever since. And so he loves dumplings. So Spike's like, yeah, just do a whole bunch of dumplings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, perfect. So I was working at Spago in Maui for the week, and so we made a bunch of dumplings there, and I go, and no shoes in the house. It's very Hawaiian, so I got no shoes on. I'm making dumplings. I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then someone behind me was like, what are we cooking, chef? And I turn around, and it's Steven Tyler from Aerosmith.
Yes.
I'm like, oh my! Like I was like, I couldn't even talk for a second. I was like, this is unbelievable. But he crushed a dumpling and, right out of the pan, man. I'm like, it's hot, Steven. He's like, it's good.
He said best dumpling he's ever had in his life.
He did.
You also cleaned, I remember Shep was so appreciative because it's like you had looked at the woks and you brought them back up to where they needed to be. Nicely greased up. And
I did have to kind of season that wok a little.
Yeah, we did some wok cooking that night too. I think we threw some things in there. But
we did some noodles, I think. And that was what a great experience that was. Thanks for that.
Yeah, always a fun time. And he's great time over there.
And it's just crazy to talk about that, like where our life has gone. Like for me, like I said, I love my time at Applebee's, and being a kid and just learning, and now we're like, I'm cooking dumplings for Steven Tyler in Maui on the beach.
Crazy.
I never would have envisioned that.
Yeah,
we get to do, and I get to travel to Montreal, and my friend Spike sets me up these restaurants, and
you see a picture of Wolfgang when he was 19 in the kitchen, and you're like, what? I'm on the right path. Something is meant.
It's gonna happen for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It manifests it. Eat the grind, and you'll get there.
Yeah. So all right. So you got the Chikos, which is great. So why, what? I egg you. Tell us why. I love the name. I love the name. My sister is probably there. I don't know. She's probably there now.
She might be.
She's there.
I saw her there yesterday. Actually,
she's there. She loves the place. She absolutely loves it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have a great community too, and I love your place around the block, and like I said, I eat the burgers and the pizza. Sometimes I just walk down there by myself just to take a breath of fresh air and slam a piece of pizza in my face.
What's your go-to?
I like the butcher one.
The butcher's block.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's carnivore.
Definitely.
And I have a love-hate with buffalo chicken. I get that sometimes just because I'm from upstate, and
I have a love-hate with it too. It's so funny. It's so funny you say that.
I also, if you think I'm critical about bagels, wings, don't even get me started.
Oh, yeah.
Don't even get me started on wings.
What's your thing about wings? Is it?
Have you ever been to Buffalo? You ever stop up?
I haven't.
You don't drive that way, I guess.
No, but you know what? I want to go to Buffalo, and I want to go the next time Montreal is playing in Buffalo.
Yeah.
I want to go for a hockey game, and I want to go to our guy is Matty Matheson's Italian.
Yeah, I want to do that too. All right, let's do a trip because I got the spots for wings, and then the
Italian
there,
something.
The hockey is HSBC Arena, Hot Sauce Blue Cheese Arena.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Speaking of great topic. All right.
But yeah, I did a wing crawl with my two nephews. Went to University of Buffalo, so we went up and we went to 7 spots. We got a dozen wings in each spot and had a beer in 7 spots.
Yeah.
Just Ubered from spot to spot to spot.
Yeah. So tell us, so is there a connection between Buffalo Wings and Buffalo?
Yeah. That's where it originated, Anchor Bar.
It is.
So there's a bar called Anchor Bar that, there's a story about the, I think it's like the wife of the chef was like trying to, make some food that was cheap for the people, like doing construction on the place or something.
Yeah.
And, chicken wings at that time weren't a thing. Now chicken wings is a huge industry. And like, we used to pay nothing for chicken wings.
Yeah.
That's why it was a thing. We're like, oh, this is cheap, but it's delicious.
Cheap.
Using the whole animal. Like, a lot
Totally.
of times it was discarded or used for, making stock or something. But,
Yeah. Now it's what, 50 cents a wing?
Oh my God!
75
now it's so
cents a wing.
expensive. People are like,
Yeah.
"Why do you charge $13 for your wings?" I'm like, "They're like $3.40 a pound." Like, are you kidding me? Man? I can get a piece of steak for cheaper than a chicken wing now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll definitely that'd be a trip we should take.
So Buffalo, but so what goes in? So where do people go wrong with wings?
First off, if you're getting like the little wings, those should be reserved for stock, and you got to get jumbo party wings.
You got to get jumbo party wings.
And people try to do too much with them sometimes. Now.
Yeah.
They're like sous videing them. I'm like, you know what? Just
let's talk about that.
drop it in the fryer for 11 minutes.
Yeah.
Pull it out when it's nice and crispy. You make a sauce. The secret to the sauce is margarine.
Yeah.
It's Frank's Red Hot and margarine, and I put a few other things in there. That's a little secret.
Okay.
A little secret process.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah, it's a little hydrogenated oil or something in there, but that's what makes the sauce, and that's it. You don't have to recreate the wheel.
Yeah,
that's one thing. As you get older, I think you learn that. Like I was saying earlier, like it's really important what you leave off the plate. And you don't need to recreate the wheel in some
everything.
things,
Sous vide technique is what's caused me a lot of agita over the years. Just because I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's improved anything that we really, you could do the 36-hour lamb shank in there if you want. But like, I don't know. I literally do not have a problem with traditional braising, my friend.
I just think you get so much more flavor. And when you do I'm also old. I think, as a cook, you should know how to roast a chicken. You should know how to cook a steak. And, I like the, kind of the old school method of that. And I think sous vide has its place. It's certainly, when you're cooking when you don't have a kitchen, for catering, there's a lot of applications. When you're cooking for a large crowd, there's definitely some applications and some uses for it. For me personally, I would prefer just to, like if I do a short rib, I would prefer just to sear the short rib and braise it.
Yeah.
I think there's so much more flavor and texture.
Yeah.
To me, a lot of times when you're sous videing a steak, and then you sear it, like it doesn't have the same texture. It doesn't
have the same texture. It's a completely different texture, especially like a sous vide roast chicken. Like, get the fuck out of here, roast chicken sous vide.
Yeah.
Who wants a sous vide chicken? No. Nobody wants a sous vide chicken. Yeah. Come on. Like, I mean, that's one of my biggest hiccups. And then like, there's some fish you just can't sous vide. Like, you can't sous vide salmon, or I don't think any fish should be sous vide, to be honest with you. They came out of the water, keep it out of the water. Like, why is it going back in? Yeah, what do you think?
I don't think I've had a fish that I like sous vide.
No, because it changes the texture of the fish as well. It makes it feel like it's not cooked, but it is cooked. Like
oh my God, they did this halibut at Joe Beef with caviar beurre blanc. It's just like a grip of caviar that is covering the top of the fish. I was like, oh man, that's so good.
How are they priced? Are they at price parity with the rest of the restaurant these days? Like,
I have no idea.
You got hooked up.
My amazing business partner, when they went to drop the check, they're like, Mr. Lee has called.
Oh.
And, that's my boy right there.
Lee.
Like,
all right.
I just texted him, baller move, Danny.
Damn,
it was
Danny.
my birthday. So
that is very nice.
That's my guy right there.
Damn, make me look bad, Danny. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, I got a double check.
All I said was ask for Frank at the door. That's for you. Was Frank there?
He was
at
not.
Schwartz's? No, he wasn't.
He wasn't there. Yeah.
All right, because that time to come. I made a pizza for you. Usually people are like, "This is what I want," but you know what? I went straight up cupped pepperoni.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, and I did
charred cups, baby.
Yeah, charred cups.
I think that's upstate New York thing too.
Yeah.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, no, it is. And then I did a little bit of oregano on there, just a little bit, a little pesto. Yeah, let's go take a slice, dude.
Let's take a look in here.
Yeah, guys, we the pizza Capitol Hill in the DC area. I wrote your note.
That looks good.
Said I love you, Scott Drewno. Said I love you. Hey, Jason, you've been kind of quiet today. Do you got any? Usually you got some. Usually you have some good little questions.
No, I don't think I have any. Oh, I mean, no, I don't have any questions, actually. Unless you have some good Wolfgang Puck stories that we haven't heard yet.
That's true.
From the Vegas years, though.
Oh man, from the Vegas years. You know, Wolf is, you know, he's incredible. You know, what a role model. You know, when you talk about like being an entrepreneur and working, nobody outworks Wolfgang.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I learned that very early on that, you know, he puts in the time. And some days I'd be like working all day. I'm like, can I go home? But you can't go home before the boss, you know, and he'd be all day right with me and it'd be like 11 o'clock at night, like even just drinking wine. And, you know, I'll be like, man, I just want to go to bed. I've been working for 14 hours and he's still going, which is incredible. And Wolfgang is incredibly ingratiating to anybody. You know, that's another thing I learned from him. Like he's like a true hospitality professional. And he'll invite anyone to have a glass of wine and talk and meet him. And he's really incredible when it comes to, you know, how much and how hard he works and how kind he is to just any person. He'll talk to anybody. You know, he's really a wonderful person.
What was his background? Like, how did he get into French cooking and Asian cooking?
I mean, there's some background story to that, but he left home, I think, when he was 16 to work in Paris. You know, started working and, you know, and worked his way up and, you know, became who he is.
Take a bite of the pizza. Yeah, one bite.
Pizza.
One bite. Tell us what
Is that? The Barstool guy?
Yeah, you're the barstool guy right now.
I don't think so.
Oh wow,
I got a second question.
Delicious.
yeah, really crispy.
Where do you like to eat? This is kind of like corny, but like, where do you like to eat in DC?
Yeah, corny
Couple
questions,
spots.
Jason. Your corny DC questions.
Santa Rosa. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's like me saying like, what's your favorite pizzeria apart from We the Pizza, obviously?
You know, I hate to do this while I'm eating your pizza, but
Oh wow, you're gonna hurt my feelings now. It's all right.
Wait, what's your favorite bagel?
no, I love We the Pizza, and we do order this at home quite a bit. And I walk down the street, but my friend Russell opened a place called Elfrida,
Oh yeah.
and Russell and I worked together at the Source for 10 years, and he became the chef once I left. Super talented, and he opened a pizza place. You know, you pizza guys, I mean, you try to have like a 3-minute conversation, and somehow it automatically gets turned around to hydration.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh my God, guy, I love you, but what are we talking about here? But he's so passionate about pizza, and if you haven't been, it's in DuPont. It's actually, you could do like across the street. You can go get a dumpling at Chiko DuPont, and then go across the street and get a pie. But he just makes this really delicious pizza, and there's a bunch of crushable wines on the menu. There's some really great salads, and he just opened a few months ago, and he's doing really well. So I've eaten there several times. You know, of course,
I'll go check it out.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
Yeah.
He's a super talented chef, and salt of the earth, humble, great person. And so I've eaten there a couple times. I always love Mike Graffiti's places. Shout out to him for winning Outstanding Chef. Incredible.
Yeah.
At the Jane Beard, so Applebee is amazing. Matt Adler is a good buddy of mine, and the new one, Cucini Marini, is walking distance from my place. So Alice and I have eaten there a couple times. Really delicious.
Have you been to Albee's Yellow?
Yeah, Yellow is
great, right?
So good.
Fun little concept there.
So good. I think we're really fortunate in DC to have a lot of talented chefs doing a lot of great stuff.
Are you a James Beard guy? Did you get a? Have you gotten a?
Twice semifinalist.
Semi.
Yeah.
I think you're maybe a little bit like me on the whole James Beard thing a little bit, but.
Well, listen, any accolade, like, hey, I'm I've been fortunate to have a few, but like I said, don't get too high, don't get too low. You can be a James Beard winner one day and close your restaurant the next day. You never know. Like the world's crazy, and you just stay humble. Appreciate the recognition is great. Like from your peers and from the public. So.
But we just had Victor on, and he was kind of like.
Was he smashing it or?
Yeah, he wasn't smashing it, but I think it's just like it's kind of like out of through experience. It's kind of what you just were saying. It's kind of. What are you chasing? Right? Like, is an accolade doing anything for your life or for the business, for the betterment of the, and I mean, to a certain extent they are, but I think it's just interesting to see Victor.
Well, I think at that time in my life, when I got nominated the first time, I was like, man, I want this. And I don't think I did anything differently than I normally would, but I that was a goal of mine that, didn't achieve. And now in the last couple of years, I'd much rather put other people in the forefront and have them try and reach that. And you know, it's a message that, you know, you can have a very fulfilling career without an accolade.
Yeah.
You know, you can be financially successful. You can do a lot of things. And like I said, the recognition is certainly appreciated. You know,
It's funny to hear you say that because it's the same thing when you and I competed.
Oh, remember that?
Yeah.
Remember you made the
Eric
salad?
Pear and Anthony looked at me and I said, give him the win. He really wants it.
I saw him trying to struggle to chew in that steak you made on that salad.
My beef salad, my sexy beef Thai salad is absolutely delicious. You trying to say I cut it the wrong way?
You did.
You trying to say I cut it?
I was watching
I
it.
wasn't even cutting it.
Interesting you bring up Victor, because Victor was the next round, and Victor is my dear friend and my brother. And that's another place I eat way too much.
Brother in arms. Yeah.
Taco Bamba. I crush Taco Bamba weekly.
We love Taco
I
Bamba.
love Taco Bamba.
Killing it. He's killing it. He's opening one after the other. He's really cracked the code for himself.
He has, and you know,
Yeah. He deserves it.
We got to take a road trip because he opened in Nashville and Richmond. I haven't been to those two, so I got to go down there just to eat at those. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I'd like to get to Nashville. I don't get there often.
I've only been there once. I'm
Yeah.
not too familiar with Nashville.
Yeah.
but
The third one.
I can't really, I can picture in some cowboy boots and buckle. Yeah.
Oh
You'd
man,
fit in real good right there.
I went to a rodeo once in Vegas, and we all dressed up like cowboys.
Oh, yeah?
They spotted us though. They're like someone called me a Yankee in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
Some guy was like, "What are you wearing that hat for, Yankee?"
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, busted. I tried to play dress up that day. It did
not work.
But I remember my brother-in-law at the time. He got like Lee jeans and pressed them so they had creases. And he had this huge belt buckle. It was great. I had this like floppy, terrible cowboy hat. I don't know where I got it. It didn't go as I thought it was going to go. I was not welcomed in the cowboy circle.
Jay, do you have another?
Speaking of competitions, I was trying to find this online. I couldn't. Did you, when you were on Beat Bobby Flay, did you beat him?
God, why gotta bring that up? Yeah,
I asked him to.
Worst day of my life. You know, I am
It was
competitive.
you had a lot of good people on that episode, I think.
Yes.
But he lost.
But I lost, so that was
It's a
terrible.
story, probably.
So it's like you were on.
You know,
you were on. I didn't beat Bobby Flay show.
Yeah. I took a page out of your notebook.
Oh no, I beat Bobby Flay. I beat Bobby Flay.
I know. Man, but you told me once I made a career out of losing.
Oh no, I definitely have made a career out of losing, and that has so far still worked for me.
So by proxy, I did beat Bobby Flay.
Yes.
I beat Spike once.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel
And that's
better
how
about
you.
myself,
That's
man.
how we. This is how we think.
Victor also beat Bobby Flay.
but-
Yeah, the three of us. I'm the only loser. I don't normally get nervous. I can't remember many times in my life I've been nervous, but I was actually nervous then because it is like a real deal. Like you go in, they're like, 20 minutes, go.
Oh yeah.
And I just made a bad decision. I was like, hey, I'm going to do like a lettuce wrap, whatever it is. I can figure out, make a quick pickle, and do something, in my wheelhouse. And my ingredient was ground bison, and I don't know why I was like, I'm making a smash melt, I'm making a patty melt.
A patty melt with
And it was Anne Burrell and like this model, and I made these honking patty melts.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, gotta know your audience. I made the wrong dish, and obviously I didn't do a very good job. And tip of the hat to the guy that beat me. But yeah, really bringing up the worst day in my life. Thank you, Jason.
That was the worst one. Televised.
We hired you earlier, the Fried Rice Collective. You're now terminated.
No dumplings for me.
No dumplings for you. That's funny. I'm happy you brought out a loss because I wouldn't have.
Oh, and then with the follow-up question, what's your favorite bagel in DC?
There are no bagels in DC, Jason. Call your mother.
Call your mother, yeah.
I live next to Pearl's Bagels.
Okay.
So I love Pearl's. Also, there's a Call Your Mother near, well, it's like Tate now. There's a Call Your Mother anywhere in the city. We had Call Your Mother yesterday. They were delicious. We do a monthly subscription service out of Chiko and Anju called Table 22, where you get dinner for two that's like lightly cooked.
Yeah.
So you get it at home, and you might have to like heat up a sauce or kind of like, this was summer stir fry was the menu. So you got some chicken that's cooked like, most of the way through, but you finish it in a saute pan. Sure. So, we do 125 dinners for two, and yesterday was fulfillment day, and we fulfill in the morning, and people come pick up in the morning for dinner that night. So we always get food in, and we got Call Your Mother yesterday. It was delicious.
Oh yeah. They have a good banh mi bagel sandwich there.
Oh, I've never had
I
that.
don't know if you ever had it, but it's McCollum Mother's pretty good stuff.
I mean, any bagel is better than a Montreal bagel.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Are
coming
the
down on
Mounties
you.
going to come down?
The
and,
Mounties, you look like a Mountie. you could very well be a Mountie, my friend. You can fit the bill. Put that red suit on and the hat. You're good. You're ready to go.
There's
Honky.
Suits. There's a guy on a horse outside looking to arrest you for disparaging the national.
I'm sending them.
But I love the smoked meat.
Yeah. They don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
How do you feel about Mounties? Do they still exist? They still got people on horses? And
As a Canadian, I still don't really know what they do or don't do. I think they're like a somewhat the police officer of the mountains and the wilderness and yeah, they're
like
fancy stuff.
When you're a kid and you hear the lights on a police car, you get a little nervous.
Sure.
Do they strike fear in you, the Mounties?
Oh no! Like your Mounties, you feel safe.
Oh.
It's like let's go find a Mountie.
It's like a Saint Bernard.
Yeah,
whiskey
exactly.
barrel.
Oh yeah, you're like, thank God there's a Mountie.
Comforting hug
Yeah.
from a Mountie that goes a long way.
Well, yeah, which could propose some problems maybe if people catch on to that. Just be a Mountie.
I'm gonna go up to Canada and break some laws around the Mounties. You're good.
It'd be great if just Mounties just popped up everywhere in the States and just people are like, what is going on here? What's going on? So the industry. Let's just talk about the industry a little bit, man. Like, what are you excited about? What's pissing you off in the industry?
Oh.
Yeah, like what are the things that you're just like, this sucks?
Yeah. Initiative 82.
Yes.
Sucks.
Yes. Expand upon that.
And if people don't know what that is, it's the elimination of the tip wage law, which, I don't think any of us wanted to be in this position, either restaurant owners, servers. We were happy with the way things were, and now we're in this position where, the thing about tipping, I think guests like to tip.
Yeah.
They like to tip when it's bad and give a bad tip, and they like to give a great tip when it's good. And, I think the consumer, and it's generational. We've had it for a long time. Like, people are just, whenever you go to Europe, like when I go, I'm like, do I tip here? Like, I feel like I should tip.
No tips.
So sometimes you're like, I feel like innately I need to tip, because I just, I've grown up that way. And, we didn't want to be in the position to have to make decisions on that. The joy of the tipping was, obviously the guest consumer side was good with it. And then, the tips in essence paid for part of the labor costs of a restaurant, which is our biggest challenge in restaurants is labor costs. And how do we provide great service, have great team members, pay them enough, and, and have a great hospitality evolved from the house side. And tipping worked that way. And, it's a misconception and a good sort of campaign by the Initiative 82 folks to say that, don't servers deserve, a livable wage. Well, legally, we were already bound as a restaurant owner to pay a minimum wage. Like, if the tips were to fall below $17 an hour, whatever it is, we would
make up the difference. Yeah.
So it's always been in place. But now that we're taking that portion of money and we, from the restaurant, have to put it in, it's, restaurants have very thin margins, It's like even your busiest restaurants, you don't always make that much money because you got all your utilities, hood cleaning, grease removal,
staff,
chemical, rising cost of food, like, perishable foods that go back. Like, there's so many, things in restaurants that were stacked up against it. To take that away and put us in a position where, like, do we charge a service charge? And then people get mad about the service charge. And, just that's hard for me because a lot of people are like, just raise your prices, but all the studies have shown, like all the research, like, at IAGU, we have a $6 breakfast sandwich. That's like 2 pieces of bread, cheese, and an egg. Mm-hmm. If we were going to take away, that and put the cost of the menu price and the labor into it, I'd have to charge like $11 for that.
Yeah.
And no one in their mind is going to be like, I'm paying $11 for an egg sandwich.
Definitely not.
They're just not doing it. And so now we're in this position which is very challenging for us to decide what to do.
Yeah.
And there's no playbook for it. And, last thing we want anyone, we're in hospitality because we're here to nurture and feed people. And, I've always felt a responsibility when guests come into the restaurant. I want them to forget about their troubles.
Yeah.
I want them to be happy. I want them to be like, they like involve themselves in the food and the drinks and just kind of
soak up the experience.
Just soak it up and just like, that I always feel responsible. I love, last night, we had some kitchen counters at Chiko Capitol Hill where we do a tasting menu. And they were just like so into the food and like the vibe and the feel. And that's what really rewarding to me. Like when we talk about accolades, like when the guests are like just so into like what you're doing and feel, grateful to be there.
Yeah.
And because I'm always grateful when the guests come in. I'm like, oh man, it's so awesome that, people, I'm always nervous. We open a restaurant or I do an event or something like, is anyone going to show up to this?
Yeah.
I'm always nervous. I'm like, am I going to throw a party and no one's going to come? We're always nervous about that. I don't care how many successful events we've had or, restaurants we open. I'm always like, oh man, I hope someone shows up.
Yeah.
Like even just like 2 people.
Yeah.
So and I feel like now we're in this position where we have to decide like how to handle this tip wage law thing. And it's like, we don't want to. Like I don't want any guest to be upset like when they get the bill. Whether it's a service charge or the price of the food. Like we want to provide value. We want guests to have a great time.
You want seamless experience.
And we don't want to like, there's a lot of, guests you see on the chats that just like,
it's a predicament.
Reference. And we're like, man, we don't want to be here. We don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable. But it's not as easy as just raise your menu.
It's going to take some time to figure it out because, I mean, to even to your point, just even putting the tip thing aside for a second. Well, first of all, I hate now that like the screen gets flipped in your face and it's like the automatic tipping. And I'm like, no, I say it out loud. I don't know what you do, but I'm always.
Well, I tip. I'm not cheap.
No, I don't tip. Well, like, why are you tip? You're part of the problem. You're part of the problem, Mr. Scott Drewno. If you're tipping on getting a something over the counter where you walked to the thing, ordered it, that person just took your order and nothing else has happened, you're part of the fucking problem, my friend.
I guess I'm part of the problem.
Yeah. I say out loud, I say no. I go, no, you didn't do anything.
Do you tell them that?
Yeah, no. Sometimes
I'll berate the cashier too.
I don't look them straight in the eye. I just look at the screen. I'm like, no, you really didn't do anything. Why is this here? Because I just think it's a bad precedent.
Can I ask you a serious question though?
Yeah. Of course.
Do you know if your POS at your restaurants does it do that automatically? Like if I came in to get a cookie, good stuff, will it ask me if I want a tip?
No.
You're 100% sure.
100% sure.
Okay, that's cool.
But
I know a lot of the POSs do it automatically now. Yeah.
Well, you control that.
Oh, you do? Okay.
It's not like the POS made its mind up. It's like, hey, I'm going to ask people to start tipping this restaurant. The restaurant puts in, hey, this screen's going to pop up, and we're going to ask you to tip 15, 20. But it's not just restaurant. It's like, it's everything. It's cab drivers. It's like, it's
I saw that funny commercial the other day. It's like, everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go.
Like the dentist.
Yeah, tip. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like, what? Like, like.
Wherever you go. Like
wherever you go. It's like, I'm giving my life savings away in tips to people, and it's just not right. So we got to figure out.
I guess I tip, the tips so Chiko is not like fast casual. We call it fine casual, where we bring the food, we clear the tables. So there's some service.
Right.
We call it kind of modified service, where it's not like full service to table. You still come up. So, and then the tip portion gets split between everyone. Yeah. Because the cooks also serve some food, clear some tables. So there's like kind of the roles are all kind of commingled. So we're allowed to do that. And
well,
it goes to, it goes right to the staff.
Well, it's weird because at a Starbucks, it'll flip over. I'll tip the buck for the barista. I'll tip the buck for the coffee. Okay. So it's not like I'm a cheap tipper. If I go out at a restaurant, I'm tipping at least 20, 25, depending on the service. I always am. I'm a good tipper. But what I'm not doing,
I think he's contradicting himself.
Yeah.
He just said he doesn't.
No. What I'm not doing is I'm not going to a solid fast casual restaurant or any other restaurant, ordering my food that the cooks are preparing. Yeah. The person's getting paid to take an order. They haven't done anything hospitable out of the ordinary other than just take my order. I don't feel there's an intent to tip there. So, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to rethink that. But right now I don't feel wrong.
I mean, I think Spike's right.
Yeah, I don't feel wrong. But the other thing is like you mentioned, what we're really up against, especially in fast casual restaurants, because now like a big portion of our sales are done online.
Yeah.
Whether you've decided to sell yourself to third-party deliveries, or you've created your own app. By the way, we should unpack that just a little bit, right? Because,
for sure.
Because we're right now in Capitol Hill have decided not to do any third-party deliveries anymore. And we have literally given up $600,000 in revenue, which can equate to $300,000 in profits a year.
Yep.
We've decided to give it up. All right. Why? Why have we decided to give it up? I'll give you the reasons Mama Mendelsohn tells me, right? Because this has been an ongoing thing in our family. Are we doing this? Are we not doing it? Are we doing it? But she's right. My mother's a gangster restaurateur. You know her. She's fantastic. She's right. She's right. Are we building a business so Uber can have a business? Right? Like, is that what we're doing? Are we starting to condition our consumers that this is okay? Right? So that's one thing right off the bat, right? I'll tell you, Plant Burger does 50% online sales. It scares the shit out of me. What happens if Uber goes away, right?
Yeah.
And I'd say 10% of those are our own app. The other 40% of those sales are third-party deliveries, right? That scares me.
Yeah.
That scares me, Scott. What happens if Uber closes or they get a lawsuit or Uber Eats? Like, where are we left as far as like our flow? So one thing, I think it conditions the consumer on a path which is dangerous for small business restaurateurs. Second, right, we all know now we're raising online prices. So we're not at price parity with what you'll pay for something when you walk into the restaurant, or you'll stay at home and order it to get it delivered. We're not at price parity, right?
Yep.
You're charging 15, 20% more. You're raising, not only are you raising the price of the item, but then they're getting charged as well as the delivery fee. Uber's trying to make their money. So at the end of the day, you're like 15, 20% higher at the end of the check, right? And that person is getting the same thing that they would get in if you came in and paid less for it, right? So value gets wrong. And then there's no customer service with these third-party delivery systems, right? Yeah. It's like they don't care. If you control your delivery, you'll only deliver within a 4-mile radius, let's just say, because the quality of your food can travel that far. Uber's going to take it another extra 2 miles for you, right? Well, maybe I don't want that pizza or that burger or that taco to spend another 2. So to me, it's just
that's a tough thing to give up. That revenue.
It is, but
those are valid points.
Yeah.
But like the consumer, it's like.
Well, we're not 100% sure we made the right move or not, but maybe we did. We'll find out. We're going to find out. But maybe we did, because you know what? How much is the third-party delivery system taxing the consistency of our food, our employees? Like all the distractions.
It comes to it just like the percentage and negotiating with the company that's doing it. And there's a certain point where we won't do them either.
Yeah.
What
are you at, 10, 15%?
We won't ever go above 15%. And like Anju, they won't, one of the companies that I won't mention because we're trying to negotiate with them, they won't drop below 15%. And we're like, we're not using you. Right. But we use them in all the other Chicos and we have a lower rate. And I'm like, I don't know why you won't honor this. And it doesn't make sense to us to do it because you're taking all the profit out of it.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Exactly.
But if it's 10, 12%, I've tried to do some math on this. Like, it'd be hard to staff your own drivers and to be lower than 12% of like what the sales you're paying them, their tickets,
it's true,
your insurance, and then. The hardest thing is that there's so many people that work for the third-party delivery apps. On a random Monday night, you're expected to do a certain amount of business, so you staff one driver, but then it rains, and you do 4 times the business you thought you were doing, but then you don't have another driver on. So that's where I'm nervous about that. Like, am I be able to get the food to the guests in those times, because people want those conveniences when the weather is inclement. And I just, so I don't think, again, there's no right answer to that, and I hear what you're saying about, if they go away, what do we do? Then we don't have a system in place, and we're in trouble.
Yeah. So it's a pickle. I mean, listen, we have so much against us in this industry right now, but let's take it to a little bit more positive thought.
Well, I think you're right. Like everybody has their hand in restaurants' pots, and I'd like to see some more people talk about how many businesses and industries revolve around, the creatives that start restaurants. Yeah. There's so many people paper companies, hood cleaning companies, like oven repair, HVAC. There's so many people that kind of swim around us
Yeah.
as we create and take the entrepreneurial plunge.
We're in an infested pool of sharks, my friend. That's our business.
Yeah, and we're competing with each other. We're competing with pricing and like the grocery stores. There's a lot of competition in restaurants, but I think a lot of people make a living and survive off of restaurants, and we should have better tax breaks.
Yeah. I just put a really long fried spring roll on the menu at Good Stuff Eatery. So.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You want to get involved in?
I called it the Jeff.
Want to get in Meet the Street? Did you see? I think I did with Victor when we had a giant egg roll.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That was one of my favorite posts between you two ever, by the way. So explain to people a little bit the history of your famous egg roll and then the Jeffrey, and it's just too fun. You guys definitely should go check this online for a fun little laugh.
Oh my God, Victor and I met when I first moved to town 18 years ago. We've been dear friends ever since, and we were just talking about collaborating. We have a restaurant in Shirlington. Taco Bama's across the street from Chiko. I'm like, oh, what can we do? And I was like, we could do like a little crawl where you get a snack, and and it was National Egg Roll Day.
Yeah.
So Victor's like, yeah, we could. You go to one location, you get an egg roll and a drink, you go to the other. And then I don't know how it evolved into Meet the Street. I'm sure it was probably Victor. And we just met in the street with giant egg rolls, and it was great, man. When so many people came out,
it was like a moment of bat fight. You ever see the bat fight video? Like bat fight, with Will Ferrell. Yeah, it was like bat fight with egg rolls.
Yeah. The thing is, you got to have fun. It's our lives. As entrepreneurs can be difficult, and we work a lot, and it's stressful, and But I always find the joy in the grind and the joy and. Our chaos of restaurants, but and a lot of it's the relationships and the friends like you that we have the same experiences in a lot of ways and have the same challenges, and it's good to let loose a little bit and have a giant egg roll fight in the street sometimes.
I love it, Scott. So we're sitting here. We've first of all, thank you so much for opening up about your background, some personal stuff, and just the industry as a whole. I mean, you're one of my favorite chefs. Not only in the DC area, but just in general as a person. I think I've always highly respected the way you've constructed your career and the things you've done, and how you've always really been a support system for everybody. And I do want to mention, we're sitting here in DC Central Kitchen. This is an organization very close to my heart, to your heart, to many chefs' heart. We get together at least once a year to celebrate this organization through a huge food fight where chefs in the DC area compete for the title of food fight. You have won the title before, Scott, I think.
I have?
Yeah, you have.
Who did I go against?
I think you went against Victor and I, two of your very good friends. And we wanted you to have a win, we felt. We got together and we were like, he needs to win right now. He needs to win. And
I got lucky that day.
Yeah, but this, what's so awesome, you've seen DC Central grow. You've probably been to their first facility. Now you've been able to come visit this beautiful facility that they've been working on. This organization here specifically, one, educates people that are looking for second and third chances in life. Mm-hmm. They put them through epic culinary training system where they train them around food and safety. While they do all the training, all that food gets, either donated to homeless people or sold in certain areas. They even provide school meals now here. And it's just such a fantastic social experimentation that they first entered to that now has become this crazy, amazing reality. And, I've hired many people out of DC Central Kitchen here to work for me, and they're fantastic. And not everybody's perfect, but and so Scott, I usually love to finish the podcast with shouting out, things that really mean something to you outside the four walls of your restaurants. Chefs are first responders. We're always in a way trying to figure out how to feed people, whether it's a worldwide pandemic, if you will, or if it's local food. What are some of the organizations you like to prop up that you've worked on and that you want to give a big shout out to?
Yeah, that's the thing. We get I guess solicited a lot to do different events for charity, and it's really hard for us to pick, because we can't do it all, and we get a lot of requests for donations, gift cards, do events,
It's
and
true.
I think chefs and restaurant people, by nature, we care and we give and we want, we're nurturers, at the heart of it. And I take that responsibility very seriously. And so it's hard to kind of decide sometimes like what to do, what not to do, who to support, who not to support, because it's not a slight on any organization or any charity.
Sure.
We can't do it all. But so we've streamlined a little bit in the years, and we focused on an organization called Embrace Race. And we do a lot of our charitable work, trying to raise money for Embrace Race. And basically what Embrace Race does, it teaches children about race. And I think, teaching children about race and diversity and inclusion is really the key to a better world. And, really putting forth, love at the forefront. And, so I think Embrace Race is
I love that.
awesome.
Where can is there a website people can go to?
Yeah, embracerace.org I think is the website, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah, they're local to the DC area. Or
Somewhat,
the national?
yeah.
Okay.
They're national. They have some offices here, and we've done a couple events at Anju with them, and a lot of times, when we do tie charitable giving in, we give it to Embrace Race.
I love hearing that because to your point, we get so much inquiries about helping, and our hearts want to help everybody, right? Yeah. That's what we want to feed people. We want to bring people joy through food, and we want to help people. And there's a lot of food banks out there, and there's a lot of different food organizations. But I like that you're concentrating on something that's a little bit different, right? And the inclusivity of our industry is very important, right? And for people to be able to work together on common ground in the restaurant in one of the most mentally taxing industries ever. Yeah. I think there's even a quote out there that says like our business is more mentally taxing than a surgeon's, for instance, or something like that. So I think I love to hear that. So
and I just did an event at I was a guest judge at a Kitchen of Purpose, which Brian McNair. Yep. So he used to be here.
Love Brian McNair.
Yeah. So he is working with this group Kitchen of Purpose in Arlington. And they take immigrants that come to the States in a similar fashion as this and give culinary training.
Culinary training?
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's really cool.
He's doing dental hygiene stuff too with Victor as well.
Yeah, Operation Smile. They
Operation
do Victor
Smile,
too.
yeah.
But Kitchen of Purpose was great. I went there. Like it's obviously smaller than this one. It's like the old one, the old DC Central Kitchen. But have some talented chefs there teaching people how to cook, and so I think that's another great organization that it's been around for a while, new to me. Yeah, in the last 6 or 7 months.
But you've also been, this is a good place, to end here. It's we've had you for a long time, so thank you. But you've put on your global hat as well, and to help push the culinary industry forward. I wasn't able to attend this trip, unfortunately. I think I had to do this food fight here at
food fight.
DC Central Kitchen.
You missed a good one.
You guys screwed me. I was supposed to be on a trip with this guy, and I heard they had like fancy cars pick him up and helicopters and fancy meals, and I missed the whole thing. But no, you've worked with the State Department in the past, and assured diplomacy through food, and just to brag about yourself a little bit.
No, I think obviously Jose is a big source of light for a lot of us, and his stance on smaller walls and bigger tables. I don't remember the exact quote. It's
smaller walls, bigger tables. I think it's no walls. More tables or something like that.
Walls that we can jump over and bigger tables.
People of America, you know what Scott is trying to say.
But I've had some recent trips with the embassies of Japan and the UAE to go as kind of culinary diplomats to learn about food and culture in the UAE and in Japan. I took 2 recent trips, which is, it's such, like I said, if you work in one kitchen, you can work in them all. Yeah. It's such a great language. That's, even though I don't speak Japanese, just to be in a kitchen and work with someone, it feels like you speak the language.
That's right.
Like it feels like you're part of it because you're in that mix and you're all going through the same thing and trying to produce, great food that nurtures people's, soul as well as their stomach.
Well, that's a great way to end, Scott. I mean, I always told people that if you know how to cook, you can go anywhere in the world and fit in, all right? Because the cooking is a whole different language of communication, and people notice that. So, guys, I want a big shout out to Scott Drewno. Yeah. Ooh. Big baby Drewno in the house, killing the podcast. Guys, don't forget he lost on Bobby Flay, but we won't talk about that anymore. Yeah, all right. We're going to do our
Thanks
outro.
a lot, Jason.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this captivating episode of In the Weeds with our big-time guest, Chef Scott Drewno. You can learn more about Big Baby Drewno by visiting the Fried Rice Collective at www.tfrc.com. A special shout-out goes to our fantastic sponsors, Just Iced Tea and We The Pizza. Discover the refreshing taste of Just Iced Tea at eatthechange.com and satisfy your pizza cravings with We The Pizza at wethepizza.com. You will not regret it. A huge thank you to our broadcast home, DC Central Kitchen, for their unwavering support. They're not just serving up food, they're serving up real change. Learn more or get involved at dccentralkitchen.org. To catch up on past episodes or to subscribe to future ones, head over to intheweedspod.com, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. The kitchen may be closed for now, but the conversation never stops. We are 86. Until next time.